How to listen to God's voice. Listening to God's voice is very essential to hearing God's voice. If you don't know how to listen to God's voice, you will find it very hard to hear or identify God's voice. So listening to God's voice is very important to hearing God's voice or identifying the voice of God. A lot of persons don't hear the voice of God because they don't know how to listen to the voice of God. So listening to the voice of God is very essential and very important for you to hear or identify the voice of God. In this video, I will give you key ways for you to listen to the voice of God so that you can hear the voice of God audibly like a major prophet or a seer. Before I continue, please like this video and follow me by subscribing to my channel in order for you to receive a video like this anytime I give a post. Thank you and God bless you. Now, how to listen to God's voice. For you to listen to God's voice, your total attention is needed. If you want to listen to the voice of God, you have to develop an active attention for you to hear the voice of God or listen to the voice of God. For example, if your friend is far away from you and is speaking to you and you cannot hear him properly, you have to silence every noise and pay active attention for you to listen to the voice of your friend or hear the voice of your friend. This same thing implies to hearing the voice of God. If we want to hear the voice of God, we must silence every noise and distraction within us and pay total attention for us to listen to the voice of God, because we are not actually seeing God physically, because God is a spirit. We are trying to trap the voice of God in the spirit, and for us to hear the voice of God or trap the voice of God in the spirit, a total attention or active attention is needed, and all distraction must be silent. So if you don't pay a total attention or active attention, you will find it difficult to hear the voice of God or listening to the voice of God. Your own noise, your own distraction must be taken away if you want to listen to the voice of God or hear the voice of God, because a lot of persons, even when God is speaking to them, their own noise is actually silencing the voice of God because they are not paying a total attention or active attention. If you want to hear the voice of God, you have to pay an active attention or a total or absolute attention for you to listen to the voice of God, because if you are not paying active attention, you will find it very hard to hear the voice of God, because for you to listen, you have to pay attention. Attention go along with listening. If you don't pay attention, you might be distracted to hearing the voice of God, or you will find it very hard to hear the voice of God. Then the number two, you have to pay attention to signs. Signs are very important for you to listen to the voice of God. A lot of persons might be positioning to hearing the voice of God or listening to the voice of God, but they might not be paying attention to signs whereby they will miss hearing the voice of God or listening to the voice of God. Once you pay attention, the next thing you should do is for you to look for signs by which God is speaking to you. There are different signs God speaks to people. God can eventually speak to you through imagination. God can eventually speak to you through vision. God can eventually speak to you through your hearing. God can eventually speak to you through your feelings. So you have to pay attention to these signs. A lot of persons miss the voice of God or miss listening to the voice of God because they don't pay attention to the signs by which God is trying to communicate to them. In Exodus 3, the Bible said before God communicated to Moses, the Bible said God gave Moses a sign. The sign was that Moses saw a fire in a bush and the bush was not burning, and Moses was amazed with that sign, and he stepped forward to know what was happening. Why is there fire in the bush and the bush was not burning? So it was that sign that took Moses' attention, that brought Moses' attention for Moses to listen to the voice of God. If Moses did not see that sign or pay attention to that sign, Moses would have missed the voice of God. Even when God was speaking to Moses, Moses would have doubted if it was actually God that was speaking to him. But that sign eventually take the attention of Moses for Moses to listen or hear the voice of God. If you want to hear the voice of God audibly like a major prophet or a seer, you need to pay attention and Look out for signs by which God is speaking to you. God may be speaking to you through your feelings. He might be speaking to you through your imagination. He might be speaking to you through your thoughts. He might be speaking to you through your hearing. He might be speaking to you through your vision. You have to pay attention to these signs, because if you don't pay attention to these signs, you will not be able to hear the voice of God, or identify the voice of God, or listen to the voice of God. So signs and paying attention help us to hear the voice of God or listening to the voice of God. There was actually one night when I wake up by 4:30 a.m. and I was eventually checking something on my phone, and whereby my torchlight just on by himself. My torchlight on by himself, and I was amazed. And whereby I was thinking, what kind of sign is this? Then I understood that God wanted to speak to me, that I should pray, and then I began to pray. And when I was praying, God began to minister different things to me that I will speak to people. So that is how to listen to the voice of God. You need to pay attention to signs. Don't ignore signs. If you want to hear the voice of God or listen to the voice of God, you must silence every form of distraction and look out for signs also, because this will help you and aid you for you to hear the voice of God like a major prophet or a seer. The essence a lot of believers don't hear the voice of God is that they don't know how to listen to the voice of God. To listen to the voice of God, you need to pay attention, active attention, absolute attention to the voice of God, and silence every distraction around you. Then too, you have to look for signs around you. There are different signs that can portray that God is speaking to us. It might be that your hands will be shaking. You might be having a feeling. God might be speaking to you through a trance. He might speak to you through your imagination. He might speak to you through fiction. He might speak to you through your hearing. Your ear might just make a sound. There will be a sign, or there will be a powerful wind that will just move along, and you will just feel this peace within you. In 1 Kings verse 19, the Bible said when God told Elijah to go to the mountain, that he wanted to show him something or speak to him, the Bible said the presence of God passes through the rock, but the Lord was not there. That was a sign that God wanted to speak to Elijah. He said the presence of God passes through the fire. He said, but God was not there. That was a second sign that God wanted to speak to Elijah. But God was not found in a still small voice. God was not found in a still small voice. So there were many signs that God gave to Elijah, that he wanted to minister to him or speak something to him. But before God did that, he gave Elijah signs. Before he spoke to Elijah, he gave him several signs, and Elijah paid attention to those signs and were able to trap the voice of God. If you want to hear the voice of God or listen to the voice of God, learn how to quiet yourself and remove all form of distraction, and pay attention to the spirit, and pay attention to the voice of God, and look out for signs. The essence many persons miss listening to the voice of God or hearing the voice of God is because they don't pay attention and they don't look for signs, whereby they eventually start thinking either it's their own thought or it's their own mind that is speaking to them, or they are the ones conceiving it. But when you pay attention to the voice of God, or when you look out for signs, you will be able to identify the voice of God or hear the voice of God. When you do these things, I tell you, you will definitely hear God's voice like a major prophet or a seer. This topic eventually arises through a question someone asked on my comments below. If you have any question on the prophetic, on how to hear the voice of God, how to see in the realm of the spirit, ask on my comments below. Then I will do a video like this that will bless your life and activate your spiritual gift and help you in your calling and in your ministry. Thank you, and God bless you. If you are blessed by this video, please like this video and follow me in order for you to receive a video like this anytime I give a post. Thank you.